Hello, I am Reverend Irene Smith, and I'd like to welcome you to Generationally Speaking. Here at the table, we come and we discuss life issues, no matter what they might be. As we sit at the table with each generation, we all learn, we all grow, we all are inspired.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Generationally Speaking.
After that, being unreasonable is just not an option anymore. When
So you're right. I think, we can be sometimes a buyer or seller can be unrealistic about what they want versus what the market will bear. You'll find sellers who have properties that they want to sell at a certain price that they've set in their mind. Where as an agent, you walk that property and you recognize that property, it will probably not sell at that amount. So you put it on the market and you let the market speak. And after a month of being on the market and there's no nibbles, no bites, no interest, then you as the agent, you then have to go back and have this conversation. So what do you say then to this seller, your client about, I've had this property on the market now for about 45 days and nobody is expressing an interest in looking at it.
actually, that conversation happens after 14 days. Because there's no need in wasting time. If your property is sitting on the market for 30 days, then buyers are going to start to think something's wrong with it. And then they're going to come in and lowball you. And you're not going to get what you wanted anyway. At this time, you're feeling very vulnerable as a seller. And you may just give them what they want when you could have received more than that if your price was the right price in the first place initially. After 30 days, it's way too long. And I personally think if your client is not willing to listen to you, then you need to sever the relationship early on.
Helena, as we're riding up and down the highways, we see these signs plastered everywhere. We buy houses. We'll buy your house. You get all these postcards in the mail. We'll buy your house as is. People are calling you on the phone. Do you want to sell your house? We'll buy it as is. And so when a person receives this and they're thinking, you know what, maybe I'll do that because then I don't have to worry about paying commission. What would you say to a prospective seller when they see these kinds of postcards and plasters all over the place?
That's a great question. Thank you so much for asking. I've been waiting for someone to ask that question. That means the seller, in my mind, has placed no value on their property. And by calling those people, the people who put those signs out, you're already saying I have no value. I find no value in my property. And because they're saying that they're going to give you cash, they may even offer to move you out of the house, all types of things like that. Well, you're spending that commission that you thought you was getting away from with an agent. Investor, those are investor signs. They're trying to make a profit. That's their business. They want to buy these houses, fix them up, and make a profit. They're not doing it because they want to do you a favor. They're doing it because they want to do themselves a favor. And you are not doing yourself a favor at all by going that route. It's just better to hire a realtor and hopefully a good realtor. In that way, you will get more money than what you initially thought. And just because you don't think you have value in the property, there is value in the property, and somebody will buy it and see it.
Oftentimes I think people fall for that interest, say, I'll buy your home, because they're thinking, well, I don't have to do anything. And I know my house needs a lot of work, and I just don't have any money to do any work, so I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to be done with it. But what would you say to the person about having to worry themselves about selling their house as is?
You mean if they actually do sell it as is?
Yes.
Uh, well, there are no worries with that. Of course, you cannot sell at the top of the market for obvious reasons if there are repairs and things like that that need to be made, but you still are going to get more for your house than what those investors are offering you.
Right. So, as you are, as a senior in the property, and you're looking at the furnace, you're looking at the roof, and all of these things that may need some repair. Well, as an agent, what would you say to them about, selling the house as is, versus asking them if they have the ability or any warranties that could do the repairs that they have?
I would suggest that if you could, if possible, to do those repairs. Those are maintenance items. Those don't have anything to do with the value unless it's brand new of the house. Upgrades of kitchens and bathrooms and flooring, those are things that add value to your house. But as far as your structural, mechanical, plumbing, or electrical, I would get those things taken care of if you can afford to do that, because it's just going to be better in the end to do that. Buyers are mostly concerned over those four things: the structural, mechanical, plumbing, and electrical. Cosmetic can come later.
Yeah.
A lot of people have vision, and a lot don't.
Okay. All right. So once I get, I put my house on the market and I get an offer, and you come and say, oh, you have several offers. So how does an agent present those offers, and how am I, as a seller, how should I look at those offers that's been presented to me?
What I do is I present it on a multiple offer spreadsheet, and which shows you if the buyer is asking for anything, whatever deductions that are made, are done from the sales price. I personally think that it is the bottom line. How much will you net from that offer?
And so, what's the difference between inspection versus an appraisal?
I'm sorry. Can I go back to
Yeah,
the last
sure.
question? Also, you want to look at things like the terms and conditions of what the type of financing that's being used. People a lot of time think that cash offers are the best. But when you sit at settlement and you receive your check, it's a cash deal. It's done. So cash isn't always king, because at the end of the day, you're going to get a check and there's your cash. So terms and conditions, what type of financing may play a part. If you do have things that need to be repaired, and you cannot afford to do those things, sometimes it's certain loans that will make it a little bit difficult for you to sell it without making those repairs.
So you use the terminology, terms and conditions, in the contract, what does that mean, terms and conditions?
Terms meaning how soon the person wants to buy the property. You may not be ready to sell your property in 30 days. At one time, when the market was moving really fast, people were under contract and moving out all in 30 days.
Wow.
That may be a little too fast for you, So everyone has a different timeline when they want to move. As far as what they want you to take care of, if there's a home inspection contingency that may may not be something that you're interested in, or it may slow the process down, whether you're interested in it or not. It is there. Someone may be offering you what you're asking for and don't have any contingencies.
So when you say contingencies, what are you saying to us?
That means if you take care of this, then we'll give you that. Meaning a home inspection contingency is you get a home inspection, the buyer is asking you to repair or replace A, B, and C. And if you are not in agreement with that, well, they have to do it within a certain amount of time. And if you're not in agreement with it, of course, you go back and forth. And if, nothing happens, then that's a contingency period where that person can get out of the contract.
So you may have several offers at several different price ranges. Some may be a higher price range. They offer what they're offering you, but they have these continues, a home inspection. They have some other contingency. They may need to wait 45 days before they can go to settlement versus someone who may have offered you a little less than what you were asking, but no contingencies. No, not asking for a home inspection. They're not asking you to wait. They're willing. They're saying that their lender says they can get to settlement in 30 days. So then the seller has to weigh all of this to see what they want to do.
Correct. Behind every contingency, there's an out. So it's essentially using time. And you may have that time, you may not have that time. If you don't want a contingency, then you're not using up that time. And there's also the appraisal contingency. So if you list your house at one price and the appraiser comes in, well, the offer the buyer is saying that we do have this appraisal contingency. Some say, some offers don't have an appraisal contingency, but most of them do. If the appraisal comes in lower than your sales price, then the buyer would have to ask you to lower the price, because the lender's not going to give them the money, not going to loan them the money for what the initial offer was for. They're only going to loan them the money for what it's worth.
So,
and if the seller says, no, I don't accept that, then you're back on the market.
So let's delve into that just a little bit. So first, let's start off by talking about the difference between a home inspection and a home appraisal.
Okay. A home inspection is someone who comes in and he's or she is checking mechanical, structural, plumbing, electrical. Their job is to essentially tell you what's wrong or what's right about the property. That way you can make an informed decision whether or not you want to move forward with this property, if you want to ask the seller to make these repairs or replace these items. That is what a home inspection is for. It's for your knowledge, to know about the house, because you want to know if it is in good condition. An appraisal is what the lender is going to order. So the lender orders the appraisal. The appraiser comes out. They're going to see what the value of the property is, meaning they're going to look at other properties in that subdivision and within a mile away from the subject property, just like your house. So if it's a split foyer, it has to be a split foyer that they're going to compare it to. Maybe a little bit more square footage, no more than 500 above what your subject property has, but they're going to take those comps, those are comparables, and say, okay, well, this is the range in which we see that this house value is. The appraiser is then going to go into the home, the subject home, and he's going to look at the upgrades, and then he's going to deduct certain things that if your property doesn't have what another property may have. So the appraiser determines the value of the property. A home inspector determines he informs you of the condition of the property.
So I purchased the home. I had a home inspection, and a month into the house, I noticed there's water coming up in the basement. And I find out as I contact the insurance company that this has been a problem with this house before, but no one mentioned it. Do I have any recourse as a buyer?
When you are making an offer on a property, most homes have to provide a disclosure disclaimer statement. Either you disclose the condition of the property, which is 3 pages of questions. How old is the HVAC? Those types of questions. When you replace the roof, how old is that? And you have an idea of what the condition is. Some may opt to disclaim. To disclaim, you're saying, I don't know anything about the property. I can't tell you anything about it. But there is a line that you do have to, to say if there is what we call latent defect. And to your question, that would be a latent defect. They would have to disclose in that form that there was a problem with flooding in the basement, if that is the case. And if they do not disclose that, then yes, you do have a reason to legally, take them to court, because that is called a latent defect. A latent defect is something that you cannot see, something that the inspector cannot see, but the seller knows that it happened.
So
And it happens often.
right. So the buyer does have some recourse.
Yes.
If it's a latent defect.
Yes.
Okay. As you're moving forward and you ratify the contract, the settlement date has been established, and you get a call the day before settlement saying there's a problem. Does that happen often?
What type of problem?
There's some problems with the paperwork. Somebody has found out that the buyer has a lien that's just been disclosed. The old Internal Revenue, some funds.
Okay, that is something that should have been known before the day before. Then, if it's something like a lien that they found late in the game and the buyer or the seller cannot pay that off, or you mean in the case
Right.
if you were the buyer? Well, if you were the buyer, the lender should have known that lien was there
Right.
prior. You shouldn't have made it that far. If it was the seller, maybe the title company is just finding this information out at the last minute, then the seller would either have to take care of that and, delay the settlement for a little while.
Okay. So we purchased the home. We're at settlement. Am I told ahead of time how much money I need to bring to the table?
If I'm your realtor, you are. We definitely know all of the money before we go to settlement. Okay. I'm going to go over the closing disclosure, because the title company will send a closing disclosure to the seller, and then the seller will share it with me. And we go through all those numbers, and that's the exact same thing with the buyer. We'll go over all those numbers, so at the least, the money will not be a surprise at settlement.
Okay. And so at settlement, as the seller, I should make sure I have all the keys. And what else as a seller should I sort of think about as I'm getting ready to hand this property over to someone else?
Oh, trash day.
Yeah, okay.
When trash is due. Maybe just mailbox keys, house keys, when the trash is due, that's it. That's
Okay.
pretty much it. At this point, we're pretty done. We're just happy to be buying a house or selling a house.
That is great. Well, Helena, you have been so informative, and I really appreciate you taking the time to share. We have an audience here, and you brought some items for the audience. So, can you tell us a little bit about the package that you prepared for our audience that were able to be here today?
Yes. There is a book on the process of purchasing a home. I've shared information on a separate sheet. If you're buying and selling, if you're selling and buying, you need to move out of your house and buy a new one, because that one's a really stressful situation. So there's some helpful tips on how to move forward with that. Um, I have in there what the current housing market, if this is a good market, and it is a good market. As markets change from time to time, and waiting for a particular market isn't necessarily the best way to go. I have 10 things that you should expect from your realtor in there. Also, there is a book on the Maryland mortgage program. Maryland, the state of Maryland, they do have first-time home buyer programs that are available to first-time home buyers.
And what does that program offer them?
Closing, it offers down payment assistance and a little portion of the closing costs.
Now, is that program income driven?
It is income driven, and the interest rate is a little bit higher. So if you could save the money up and move forward without using the program, that would save you in the long run. But those programs, either there are grants that may be available, or if you use the MMP program, that is called a second lien, a second loan. Some of them are forgiven after a certain amount of time. Some are not. You just have to pay it back when you refinance or sell your home.
Fantastic. So, final words. What are your final words to the audience and to those who are thinking about buying or selling their home?
Okay, final words. Well, I just think that it's just best to be prepared when you're doing that. If you're selling your home, I do suggest that you declutter. You throw away things that you haven't used in a year or over. You don't want to take trash into your new home. It's always better to declutter your home and to get that. And I would suggest that you get a home inspection for yourself so that you can take care of those items before the buyer even reach your home. So that way you feel that you're selling a good product, because that's what you want to buy. You want to be able to return that in the first place. And then also, if you wanted to make upgrades, these things do cost money, and upgrading your kitchens and bathrooms and your flooring is a really good start. Everybody likes HGTV ready. Everyone likes, beautiful new things. So, if you can do that, then that is a good start. As a buyer, again, I say be very prepared. Know what your money is every month, because you don't want to be house poor. That's a terrible way to start as a homeowner. Take 30 days and write down every single dime that you spend, even if it's 50 cents, so you know how you comfortably move about in the world using your money at that particular time, because things are going to be different when you move into a house. Things cost and they come up, and you just want to be prepared. And also, I would save at least 3 months. I would pretend in my head, if I'm going to spend $2,500 for mortgage, I would try to get in the habit of saving $2,500 a month, just so you can get that habit and that feeling, because it's going to come every month, and even if you don't use it, at least you'll have a nice cushion, because things will happen. So just be very prepared financially and mentally.
Great. So how do folk get in touch with you?
Well, I am a realtor at Sampson Properties at the National Harbor. My cell phone number is 301-651-2166. My email address is helena@helenasaleshomes.com. And you just give me a call. I'll answer the phone.
Fantastic. Well, Helena, I want to thank you for taking the time again to come and share with my audience. I know that you all have learned so much today, and perhaps you have more questions that you would like to ask. You can contact Helena. She's given us her contact information. Call her. If you're thinking about buying a home as a young person, I would say give her a call and let her work with you. If you're thinking about moving from your starter home to your next home, give her a call so she can help you to make those decisions as you look forward to that next home. And if you have aged and you're ready to downsize in square footage but not in comfort, give my girl a call. Well, again, thank you so much for being here. Generationally speaking, I close with saying, be inspired. God has placed inside of each one of us purpose and destiny. Whatever you do, make sure you pursue it. And then be informed. How do I get informed? By listening to other folk, both young and old. I'm telling you, you can learn something from everybody. Don't count nobody out. And once you get that inspiration along with that information, you're going to be transformed. See you next week. God bless.
God bless.